I never imagined that a single tiny bump could turn my life upside down. It all began innocuously, just a small, barely noticeable growth on my finger. At first, I shrugged it off, thinking it was just dry skin or a harmless wart. Life was too busy for me to dwell on such trivialities. Work deadlines, family responsibilities, and my social life kept me constantly on the move, leaving little time to scrutinize minor imperfections on my skin. But then I started noticing more bumps. Small, flesh-colored, and barely there, they seemed insignificant at first. Yet once I saw them, I couldn't unsee them. They spread slowly, creeping onto different parts of my hands and arms. I tried not to panic, reasoning that maybe it was just a reaction to something or an innocent skin condition that would clear up on its own. The real shock came one evening during a routine shower. As I ran my hands over my skin, I felt something strange in a much more intimate area. My heart dropped. I found similar tiny growths where I least expected them. Suddenly, the nagging sense of unease I'd been ignoring became impossible to dismiss. This wasn't just a coincidence or a benign skin issue. This was something more. The next morning, I made an appointment with my doctor. Sitting in the clinic's waiting room, I felt an overwhelming wave of anxiety. My palms were sweaty, my stomach churned, and my thoughts spiraled with worst-case scenarios. I hadn't told anyone about the bumps, not even my partner. Shame and fear swirled in my mind, feeding off each other. What would the doctor think of me? Was this something serious? Was it contagious? The questions were endless, each one making my chest feel tighter. When the doctor finally saw me, they examined the bumps with a calm professionalism that put me slightly at ease. After a series of questions and a brief test, they confirmed my worst fear. It was HPV, the Human Papillomavirus. HPV? I repeated, my voice shaky. Isn't that dangerous? The doctor's explanation was straightforward but unnerving. HPV is incredibly common. About 8 out of 10 people are exposed to it at some point in their lives. For many, the immune system suppresses the virus and they never even know they have it. But for others, it can manifest in the form of warts or, more alarmingly, precancerous changes in the body. I sat there, stunned, as the doctor continued. A lump formed in my throat and I struggled to hold back tears. I hadn't known much about HPV before that moment, and the little I did know only made me feel worse. How had this happened to me? Where had I gone wrong? The shame was suffocating. As the doctor explained, HPV is a stealthy and persistent virus. It can lie dormant in the body for years, waiting for the right conditions to emerge. Stress, illness, or a weakened immune system can trigger it, allowing the virus to manifest as warts or other symptoms. It spreads easily through sexual contact, skin-to-skin interaction, or even shared hygiene products. Hearing this, my mind raced as I tried to pinpoint when or how I could have been exposed. Memories of past relationships and fleeting encounters played in my head like a slideshow, each one bringing a fresh wave of guilt and regret. But the truth was, it didn't matter. The virus was here now, and I had to deal with it. The doctor reassured me that HPV wasn't a death sentence. We have options, they said. It's manageable. Their words were meant to comfort, but the weight of the diagnosis still pressed heavily on my chest. I left the clinic feeling numb, clutching a pamphlet on HPV that I couldn't even bring myself to look at. The initial treatment focused on addressing the visible symptoms, the warts. My doctor recommended cryotherapy, a procedure that uses liquid nitrogen to freeze and remove the growths. I scheduled my first session for the following week. When the day arrived, I felt a mix of relief and trepidation. The clinic felt colder than usual, or maybe it was just my nerves making everything seem more stark and clinical. The procedure itself was quick but uncomfortable, leaving the affected areas red and sensitive. As I walked out of the clinic, I carried a strange blend of emotions. I was relieved to be taking action but apprehensive about what lay ahead. Would the warts come back? Would the virus spread further? The uncertainty was agonizing. While the physical symptoms were being treated, the emotional burden felt much heavier. I couldn't shake the shame I felt. It was like an invisible weight pressing down on me, making it hard to breathe at times. I worried about how this would affect my relationships. Would my partners see me differently? Would they blame me for bringing this virus into our lives? In my search for answers and support, I turned to online forums and support groups. That's where I found Maria's story. She'd been dealing with recurring warts for years, enduring multiple treatments and frequent outbreaks. Her words struck a chord. It's not just a physical battle, it's an emotional one. You feel like you've lost control of your body and your life. Reading her story made me feel less alone, and for the first time, I realized how many people were going through the same thing. It was comforting, but it also broke my heart to see how much shame and isolation so many carried. HPV doesn't just wait quietly, it thrives on chaos. Stress, fatigue, and poor health provide fertile ground for it to flourish. And my life had been full of stress lately. Between work deadlines, personal challenges, and the general busyness of life, I'd been neglecting my own well-being. It was a wake-up call. Treating the symptoms alone wouldn't be enough. If I wanted to regain control of my health, I needed to make some serious changes. Managing HPV became more than just a medical process. It was a lifestyle transformation. My doctor prescribed antiviral medications and immune-boosting supplements, which I took religiously. I also cleaned up my diet, incorporating more fruits, vegetables, and immune-supporting foods. Regular exercise became a priority, as did getting enough sleep, something I'd always struggled with. I learned to set boundaries and say no to unnecessary stressors. Therapy became another essential part of my journey. It gave me the tools to process the shame and fear I'd been carrying and helped me reframe my mindset. Slowly but surely, I began to feel more in control, not just of the virus, but of my life as a whole. Months passed, and the treatments worked. The warts didn't return, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt a sense of peace. But I wasn't naive. HPV doesn't simply vanish, it can lie dormant, waiting for the right conditions to resurface. The key was vigilance. I also became more proactive about my long-term health. I scheduled regular checkups and pap smears to monitor any potential risks associated with the virus. Knowledge became my greatest ally, replacing fear with empowerment. Living with HPV taught me resilience. I learned to listen to my body, to prioritize my health, and to treat myself with compassion. I stopped seeing the virus as a reflection of my character and started viewing it as what it truly was, a medical condition, not a moral failing. The stigma surrounding HPV isolates those who are affected, but it doesn't have to be that way. By sharing my story, I hope to break down some of that stigma and remind others that they're not alone. HPV is a part of life for so many of us, but it doesn't define us. This journey is just one chapter in my life, but it's taught me invaluable lessons about strength, perseverance, and self-acceptance. If sharing my story helps even one person feel less scared or ashamed, then it's worth it. HPV isn't the end of the world. With knowledge, support, and proactive care, we can face it head-on. And for me, this experience has been a powerful reminder to prioritize what truly matters: my health, my relationships, and my inner peace.
We share these stories so you can relate, offering community support to remind you that it's okay to feel vulnerable. You're not alone in this journey, and together we can help lighten the load. Let these stories be a source of strength and encouragement, showing that challenges are shared and solutions can be found as a community. You've got this, and we're here to support you every step of the way. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more health stories just like it, go ahead and click that subscribe button. It's completely free. And, as a little thank you for subscribing, we'll give you a special voucher. This voucher will get you 20% off any of our laboratory products or money off every test or appointment for as long as you're subscribed to our channel. It's a great deal. And while you're at it, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. It really helps us out and lets us know what you'd like to see more of.